Okay, here's a quick discussion of the plating part of this whole dilution factor stuff. So we've got the test tubes, we just discussed that. So how about the plating? How do they get these numbers here? Well, if they take, let's say, 0.1 milliliter of the solution, the mixture from test tube 2, which has this factor, 10 to the negative 4 diluent factor, they take 0.1, and remember in math, of means multiply. So they're taking this 0.1 from test tube 2 for this plate number 1, 0.1 milliliter of the diluent factor, which is 10 to the negative 4. Well, 0.1 is 10 to the negative 1. If you make that in scientific notation, times 10 to the negative 4. When you multiply bases, you add the exponents. That's how they're getting this 10 to the negative 5 factor for plate 1. So what we'd say is this is 10 to the negative 5 milliliters of the original sample. That's what we get for plate 1. All right, plate 2, I'll do that in a different color. I'll do it in green. It's the same process though. For plate 2, we're taking 0.1 milliliters, but from which test tube? That's the whole thing. So we're taking 0.1 milliliters from test tube 3. So this is going to be 0.1 of 10 to the negative 5. So that's really 10 to the negative 1 times 10 to the negative 5, which gives us 10 to the negative 6 milliliters of the original. All right, same thing for plate 3. What did it come from? Plate 3 came from test tube 4. Okay, fine. What is the diluent factor for test tube 4? 10 to the negative 6. So for this one, for plate 3, we're taking 0.1 milliliters, 0.1 milliliters of 10 to the negative 6. All right, that means 10 to the negative 1, that's my 0.1. Of means multiply, 10 to the negative 6. This is 10 to the negative 7 of the original sample. Okay, last one, it is still the same process. I know you're bored by now, but this is how it goes. We're going to take 0.1 milliliter of what from test tube 5? So 0.1 milliliter of 10 to the negative 7. Of means multiply. This is 10 to the negative 1 times 10 to the negative 7. You add your exponents. This gives us a 10 to the negative 8 milliliters of the original. So I don't know whether or not your professor has you calculate these. If you have to calculate these, this is how you do it. If you don't have to calculate them, that's great, but here's a little bit of an understanding of what that means.